Hey, this is Cori Barnes.
And this is Lisa Caperton, and you're listening to Her Turn to Talk. So Cori, I checked out Sex Education. I'm still watching it. I just have one question.
Oh, yeah, I think I gave you the wrong title. That's not the right one. That's like a show, right?
Yeah, but it's good. I've been watching it.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Oh.
The one that I meant to tell you is Sex Explained.
Oh, okay.
So I know nothing about sex education.
I've watched
I'm
several
so sorry.
of those explained. I have not watched the one on sex. Well, I thought it was totally relevant because there is a part where they do talk about masturbate. You should watch it, though. It's a great show.
Yeah.
It's an English show, and the kind of premise is that the son is in high school, and his mom is a sex therapist. And so then he becomes like the sex therapist of the school. And it's pretty interesting. It's pretty funny. It's pretty good. I really enjoy it, and I really enjoy the characters in it. So, okay, well, now you got to go watch that, and then we'll talk.
Yes. And I was texting you the other night about that other.
Yes, which I did
Netflix.
turn on last night. I turned on last night, and I watched.
It got me fired up.
Almost the first episode, but it was late, and I was really tired, so I went to sleep. But I do see what you're saying,
Yeah.
and I do appreciate what these women are doing.
Yes.
Totally.
I'm sorry, but when I go on there, it's very hard for me to find something that I enjoy watching.
Right.
Just in general.
And
Like
even
very
just
difficult.
from, like we've talked about, as like a mom and raising teenagers that have access to these things,
Totally.
I would much rather them, have a realistic approach to some of this horrible stuff that is out there in the porn industry.
And I would much rather, like if people are getting, Travis and I were talking about this. There's this aspect of the female perspective. It's sex ed for younger people. They're learning about there. And then adults even that are dating, having sex in general, they're getting ideas from the porn they watch. I don't care what anyone says. That is the freaking truth.
Right.
And yeah, it might be it gets me so fired up. It might be natural instinct, and don't get me wrong, there's some kink stuff that I might like or whatever, something.
Right.
But I've come a long way, and from someone who has come from where, I found my, my parents' dirty magazines in the closet by accident, where porn didn't even exist, or you're in a convenience store and you see Hustler hiding up at the top left, right? Where the internet didn't exist, or scrambled on the television. We came from that, and then to also transition into this world of this explosion of free pornography.
Yeah.
That really isn't, it's not regulated. It's not.
Right.
And it because through my own sexual experiences, I have also experienced a lot of this through different partners.
Like being asked to do things that they've seen in porn, and you're like,
we don't even know what we're doing. We have no clue what we're doing, right? And still, for a while there, we had no idea what we were doing. We understood, mechanics, but no, not really. And then turning into this, wow, I'm being asked to do this. I guess I need to do that. And this glamorized, the glamorized porn star strippers, being glamorized in that maybe I need to be more like that in order to be liked, because that's the icon of men. That's what men want. So, and then getting all confused in that and not being, I didn't want to necessarily, but then, and I had my own things too, with, me feeling not good enough, but I was also trying to find my place in the world. And that's difficult when you're being influenced as a woman with all these effing magazines, all the television. I don't know if men can understand the kind of stuff we deal with. It's
like escalated into all of these different genres now, and some of them are actually horrible, treating women, badly in these videos, or rape, or all of these different things, and also unrealistic expectations as well come along with all of that.
No one sees a conversation before this. Is this okay if I go a little deeper?
Right.
That would be one thing. If there was a conversation ahead of time, but what we see is like you said, it's just into it. It's going. And that's what people. I'm just supposed to. If I feel like it, I'm going to do that.
Right.
At least that's what I'm saying.
Right. No, I know what you're saying. And I appreciate, and just, I don't even think we said this, but what we're talking about is on Netflix, a show called Hot Girls Turned On. And it's about these women who are in the porn industry making the films behind the scenes from a female perspective and making it realistic and for women and very feminine positive. And they treat the people on the set very respectfully. And I do appreciate that, of having that option out there. And I do think it needs to be out there.
It is not just softcore. It is not just glamour. Really, it is hot and heavy.
Right. There's still,
women have fantasies like, talking about, it's inappropriate to talk about it on
fantasies,
air. But there is like some, role play, switching the roles. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is still hot and heavy, and you just got to give it a chance, you know? The woman's name is, I'm all about her, Lust, Vienna. She's from Vienna.
Erica Lust.
Erica Lust. If you don't know about her, check her out. She's on to something, and she's powerful. I adore her. She's got a male partner that is supporting her, and I love that woman.
Yeah, it's really awesome. And the other woman is on there, too.
I can't think of her name.
I can't think of her name right now either, but you can check that show out. It's really great, and I love that we talked about that.
It's just because I had the conversation last night, and I was like,
Cori, maybe you need to go out there and help change. I don't know. Be an advocate for proper porn.
I don't know where to start. I need to join those women,
Yeah, I don't know. Well, you know what? My badass woman is also, she's not in the porn world, but she's out there, fighting for women.
Yeah.
Or she used to be. She is deceased now. And my badass woman is Chu Jin. And I do not know if I'm saying that correctly. I did pull that up online and tried my best, but it's spelled Qiujin. And I got this information, a lot of it from NewYorkTimes.com, Wikipedia, and AmazingWomeninHistory.com. But Chu Jin was born in 1875 in China. So I'm taking you way back. And this will be kind of short and sweet here. But Chu Jin has also been referred to as the Joan of Arc of China. She was known to have a passion for wine, swords, and bomb making. She was a poet, a feminist, a revolutionist. She wrote and spoke out against the patriarchal society, which stated that a woman's place was to stay at home. She fought for things like abolishment of feet binding. Do you remember how they used to do that in China? And for the liberation of women. She pushed against the norms for class and gender by doing things like cross-dressing and leaving her family behind to pursue an education. She left her husband, who she said treated her like less than nothing, to move to Japan to study. She founded a women's journal and became a principal at a school, which was actually a military training facility for revolutionaries who wanted to change for a more westernized government style in China. Eventually, Chinese officials, of course, they didn't like that shit one bit. They came to the school and she was arrested and tortured, but she wouldn't give up any information. There was kind of an uprising that was kind of going on and being planned, and she wasn't going to give them any information about that. So what they ended up doing is just finding some of her old writings and things and using that against her. And she eventually ended up getting beheaded on July 15th, 1907. Man. It's a very sad ending, but a very badass woman who, was like, she's seen what was going on, and even back in 1870s, 1900 was like, this isn't right, and wanted to do something about it. So that is my badass woman, Chu Jin.
I love that.
And I know we have another badass woman coming on today.
We do. Her name is Cori James. Cori is a light in this world. She's a badass. She's tattooed all over. Beautiful, gorgeous, vibrant tattoos. She has beautiful blonde hair. She's a triathlete. An amazing one at that. She's been doing it for years. She's extremely passionate about it. She's a professional tattoo artist right here in Denver. And let's bring Cori on now. Welcome, Cori. So glad to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm so stoked to be here.
This is just wonderful.
Yeah.
Cori and I and Lisa, we were just discussing that. I found Cori on Instagram under some kind of hashtag, probably Boulder, we were saying. And at the moment I saw her, I knew that she had to be on the show. Her Instagram is colorful, exciting, inviting. Immediately, I was just drawn by her description of triathlete, a tattoo artist, a writer, and a self-love advocate. And then I just went into a rabbit hole of looking at Cori's tattoos that she's done. Her store, you have a clothing line.
Yeah, I just released some t-shirts like this past week.
And I love them.
They're
beautiful.
I'm so happy with how they came out.
They're so beautiful.
They're really fun. And I am actually using all of those designs and a couple more for some like athletic apparel that I'm releasing soon as well.
Oh, that's great.
Very exciting.
So how did you just find a printing company that you liked? And is it screen print? Or?
No, it's actually one of those like direct to garment websites. So they do everything because I couldn't afford. It's always been my issue with merch in the past is I'm terrified to buy a bunch of merch and it not sell.
Right.
That's everyone's fear with anything like that. So with this, I was like, oh my God, I can have as many colors as I want. I can do like options and I don't have to put any money up front. They print it, they ship it, they do everything, but it looks like I'm doing it all because it's through my website.
Yeah.
So it like looks really legit.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's been really cool so far. They started getting shirts yesterday.
Yeah.
And people were like tagging me in their stories. And I was like, yes. How was it? Is it good? Did they do a good job? They're like, yeah, they're great. I was like, oh, thank God. Thank God.
That's awesome.
It's printful.com.
Printful.
Yeah.
.com. Cool.
That's
Yeah,
exciting.
check it out.
Printful, if you would like to sponsor me.
Cool. Yes. Yeah, check out, for our listeners, check out her shirts. At Colorful Contender. Nope, that's the wrong one.
It's the CoriJamesTattoo.com.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Why did I just lose
I
it?
need to. No, I haven't. I didn't do it on my blog because I didn't want to have to pay for 2 business Squarespaces.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally understand.
So I was like,
blame you.
just everybody go to that one. It already has a store.
There we go. So, I guess where should we start? You're a tattoo artist.
Yes.
Where did that begin?
You're
You're a good tattoo artist.
Thank you. It's kind of funny because I grew up in a really small town in Georgia and like started telling people I wanted to be a tattoo artist when I was like 16. And they were like, oh, yeah, okay, you're never going to get a job with tattoos. And I was like, I can get as many as I want if it is my job. So shut up. And so like I moved to Atlanta and that was my goal. Goal was like I went to college shortly for drawing and painting, hoping it would help me get an apprenticeship. And I started doing counter work at a shop and eventually like wiggled my way into an apprenticeship and dropped out of college because I hated it. And, and then that's all she wrote. Yeah.
Wow.
It just happened. It happened faster than I expected it to. And thankfully it did because it's been a really cool.
So you're born an artist.
Yeah. My mom is actually an art teacher for like primary school. So kindergarten through 2nd grade, my mom was my art teacher, which was really cool.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, that's my mom. Whatever. Excuse me. I need to go to the nurse's office. And I would just go to my mom's room and like hang out. And then my dad, when he was younger, he was a newspaper photographer. So like art was encouraged in our house.
Yeah.
I don't think they ever saw it as a job though, like a full-on career, because once again, growing up in a conservative small town, people kind of don't necessarily believe that like being just an artist, not an art teacher or something like that, is financially sound. But they're very supportive. Luckily, my folks are really cool. So
That is well, I know what that's like coming from a small conservative town and then to be an artist and then to take it to the next level of being a tattoo artist, like that comes with a whole other range of things when you come from, some places like that. I know for me, I got a tattoo. I got a couple when I was before I was supposed to, like young, as a teenager. No, these are like back alley. They've since been covered up with new ones, like nothing good. Oh, actually, this one is still one from like 16. It needs to be.
Wow, really? Let me see that.
Oh no, it's not good.
Not that bad though. I've seen much worse that were
Turn
done
into blobs.
back alley.
But I remember like doing this stuff as a young kid, and I mean, you would have thought I lit the house on fire, you know, and it comes into this, oh, you're pot. Like, why would you do that? And then you've got the whole small town Southern, you know, moral thing going along with it. And it's like so great that you had parents to support you to do that because,
they were very cool. I
That's
mean,
awesome.
my mom was a bit cooler than my dad. He's still a hard ass. Like, he finally got on the bandwagon after a while. But my mom was like, well, I can't stop her. She's the most stubborn person on the planet, so we might as well just cheer for her, I guess. I was like, cool. Don't fight it then. Thank you.
And then you start becoming this badass artist and making money at it and being very successful. And you're like, then your parents are like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, you know, they just had all these notions of what tattooing was because, you know, for them it was bikers and drug dealers and meth heads. Like, those were the only people that got tattoos.
Right.
And
That's
like,
who we saw growing up. Like,
no, that's not real.
Do you remember your first tattoo?
Of course, yeah. I actually, like, I'm a very big rule follower, so I waited till I was 18.
Oh, you were smarter than me because, trust me, the one that I had covered up now on my back, I mean, it was awful.
I honestly think the age should be bumped up to 21.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm a tattoo artist. I make money off of young people getting
Well,
tattooed. And I'm also like,
us young people are
stupid. Please don't make a
stupid.
mistake.
Well, we're stupid. And then we're like, I know for me, the one on my back it wasn't even anything. It was just like this ugly design in black, the dark black, ugly design of later in life that I was like, what the hell? Like, and I just got it for the sake of getting it to spite or whatever. And so it's like,
the majority of my right arm was full by the time I was 21. And it's like, I mean, like, it's fine. It's not a terrible arm, but it's also like, could have done a lot better too.
Yeah, yeah.
So what was your first one?
My first, it was actually 2 in 1. I got sparrows on my stomach.
Oh, and you did it yourself?
Genius. No.
Oh no! I want to know the first one that you did.
That I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely remember that. It was on a fellow tattooer after I think a little over a year into my apprenticeship. One of my mentors. I have like a really weird, convoluted apprenticeship story, but one of my mentors, he was like, "Okay, today's the day. You're going to do your first tattoo." And I was like, I'm going to throw up. Great. And I did it on one of my really good friends. He's still one of my really good friends, Jason Smalley. And he's like covered, like head to toe covered. So luckily he found a little spot on his leg. So it just blends in with everything else. So it's fine.
Right.
But he got it on the side of his knee, which is a really painful spot. And I had never actually tattooed a human being. I mean, I had tattooed some grapefruits, but it's a little
I was going to
different.
ask, what did you practice on? Grapefruit?
Huh. Yeah, I was vegetarian at the time, and my douchey mentor is what I like to refer to him as, wanted me to find pigskin. And I was like, oops, sorry, I couldn't find any. What else can I use? He was like, fine, you can use grapefruits. So I practiced on grapefruits. I actually still have some of them. Because when you tattoo a grapefruit, it kind of aerates it. And instead of rotting, it just dries out.
Oh,
so that's just like
cool.
I have some weird solid as a rock grapefruits in boxes around the house.
That's cool, though. I mean, interesting, right? Who knew?
Very strange because I wasn't able to like pre-draw on them or stencil or anything.
Yeah.
So I just drew like really dumb stuff all over these grapefruits.
And you're like learning how to hold the what is it called?
Machine.
Yeah,
that's the proper term.
Yes.
When people say a tattoo gun, we all just kind of go,
no, that's not right.
But like you try not to correct people. You're like, so like the grapefruits is just so you can get used to the weight and like how it, because it's obviously very different than holding a pencil or a pen.
Moving.
It's moving, it's vibrating, the grip is this big around, you know, like there's so many factors. So I practiced on grapefruit, and then I tattooed the side of Jason Smalley's knee, and I pulled the first line as like a little old school Sailor Jerry heart. And or no, it was a rose. And I pulled the very first line, and he and my mentor start giggling, and they have like these really infectious giggles. And I'm like, what? And he's like, I was almost passed out. And I was like, what? He was like, yeah, that's the first time I've almost passed out during a tattoo. Congratulations. And I was just like, oh, no. Are you kidding me? And they're like videoing the whole thing, laughing, and I'm literally like going up to his skin, shaking. Like, but you know, it worked out. I had to practice on somebody.
Do you know what is the science of actually getting a tattoo? How does so our skin, like why we shed skin? Do you know much
Right.
about why it penetrates so deeply that it stays?
So I don't really
you
know
know?
a whole lot of the science. I know that it goes through a number of layers of skin,
And we have many layers.
And there's something crazy where I read recently, actually, that your body is, as soon as you get that tattoo, your body is actually constantly trying to fight it off because it's foreign in your skin. And apparently it can actually make your immune system a little bit stronger to be tattooed.
Oh,
Because
who
your body's like so
knew?
used to trying to fight off this stuff that's
Very
literally never going
interesting.
anywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really know. I don't know the science behind it. I probably should know that, but
Just curious.
8
Travis
years
and I were
in, I'm
talking
still
about
like, I don't know, it stays, right?
it. And you've been doing this 8 years.
Yeah, 8 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Is there like a favorite style that you like to do?
Yeah, I definitely specialize in what I call traditional,
Yeah.
which I think some people would consider it not super traditional because I use a lot more colors than other traditional artists do.
The
But
colors are beautiful and they're
Thank
bright and
you.
vibrant.
Yeah.
Just like you.
Thanks. I come here all the time. Yeah, but I always say I stick to the like traditional rules with a thick black outline, lots of black shading to contrast with all the bright colors. And I do a style that that is meant to last and age well.
I love there's a
that's the
bunch of them
goal.
that are popping up already that have girl power on it.
Yes. Mhm.
Real beautiful.
Thank
There's something else.
you.
And you've been doing this 8 years. I already said that.
I think so.
Do you have your own shop?
Yeah, it's 8. No, I'm working at Ritual Tattoo and Gallery in Denver.
Cool. How long have you been there?
Since we moved here in September.
Wow. And what's your schedule look like?
Like, am I booked out?
Yeah.
Or- I'm actually not.
Yeah.
But everyone keeps thinking I am. And they email me like, I'm booking 3 months in advance. I'm like, y'all, I'm new to town. You don't have to book 3. Like,
That's
tell your
fantastic.
friends that I need them to get tattooed like next week. Like, it's okay.
Yeah, yeah. So you're taking new clients.
Yeah,
For
totally.
listeners, if you want to check out Cori James down at
Absolutely.
Ritual.
I appreciate that everyone thinks I'm so cool that I'm booked months in advance, but I'm not. So
That's
come
so
on
great.
in.
And when you go in, I mean, I want to get down to the nitty gritty. What is like the process? Say I'm coming in.
Mhm.
I would like to get a tattoo, Cori. What does that look like? What happens once I walk in and I say I'd like to get a tattoo?
So I usually do everything over email personally, just because I find that's the most effective way to even set up an appointment. Because it's like, you can come in and talk to me, but we're going to talk about the exact same thing we would do if you didn't drive over here.
Right.
But yeah, people show up, and I'm very lucky that I specialize in a style, and usually people want that style. And I am very grateful that people usually go, this is what I want. I trust you. Do it however you think is going to look best, because that is the most fun tattoo that I get to do, is when anybody says, you do you. I'm like, oh, thank you. You're the best client. Yeah, so usually I show people the drawing the day of, and if they want to make changes, I make some changes until they're stoked on it, and then just get right to it.
And do you stencil first?
Yes, definitely.
And then you just go to town.
Just go to town.
Do you have clients that'll tweak things over and over and over again until it's perfect?
Knock on wood. No, I don't have that very often.
Yeah. I was always curious. I
I'm
have
very
several
grateful.
too, and I never did that. But then I thought, oh man, if there wasn't something that I didn't, I would be just so excited that I just wasn't
and I
in the mood.
think like people ask if they can see it beforehand, and I always say no, because I think if you stare at something long enough, you can find anything to change.
Oh, yeah.
And it's
you know, as an
usually-
artist,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I know it's usually completely unnecessary. It's just them going like, and it's like, you don't have to. It's okay how it is.
Yeah.
So I show people day up for that reason, because the nitpicking takes the fun out of it, and
Totally.
the fun out of the
Yeah.
creativity, the experience.
Yeah.
And like when people get in their own heads about the tattoo too much, I just assume they're not going to like anything at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're I think they're a little too unsure of what they actually want. And then that just kind of ruins the experience for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the biggest piece you ever done?
I started working on a back piece in Atlanta, which I usually don't do really big stuff. I usually stick to I don't know, hand sized to a little bit bigger than that, just because I like the smaller stuff. But I did start doing I started a back piece in Atlanta of a big eagle.
Ooh,
I think it was a snake too.
I
think
think
there
I
was a
saw
snake
that
involved.
somewhere.
Paige, I'm sorry if I can't remember what your back piece looks like.
I'd like.
I swear I'll
I have
remember
a
when I see you.
question that I'd like for you to just kind of talk about and clear up. Going back to what we were talking about, like people's misconceptions of tattoos in general, people who get them, people who do them, and the shops themselves. And like I think it's important to say there's all varieties
Yes.
of people who get them and who don't, and shops and all of that. And I'm assuming that you work in a professional place, a professional environment. It's not like you're going, like not what people think that they see in a movie in like some crappy part of town.
There's
Like, yeah.
20 motorcycles out
do
front.
you, yeah, and like,
Everybody's
do you
smoking
have
inside.
people that you feel like is there still some kind of stigma to that? Or I feel like people are starting to realize like, no, this is, professional people.
Yeah.
It is art. Like it's for everyone. It's
Yeah.
not, like you were saying, it's not just the bikers and the
Right.
meth addicts, and it's like not everybody's on drugs or doing
Right.
this and
Yeah.
doing that.
I think it's very much evolving and changing, and people realizing that. I think it's been changing for a long time, and I think social media has helped that a lot because people are realizing like, oh, this is someone's career. This is what they specialize in, and now people have the ability to find artists so much easier, and you can create an environment because your clients are coming there to see you. So it's changing. There's more and more I think feminism and more female involved shops.
That's what I was going to ask you about too.
Yeah. I started at a shop in Atlanta that was majority men by a lot the entire first 5 years of my career. And like the first 3 years, it was just me and like 6 dudes. And then another girl started working there. By the time I left, it was me, her, and 13 men.
Wow.
And that was a high percentage of female tattooers in a shop in Atlanta. We're like, but I actually left that shop and was a part of opening like a small studio space that was like fully based in being a feminist and female oriented, not in the sense we wanted it to be really feminine. We just wanted everyone to feel comfortable. And you would be shocked at how many men love a calm, bright, clean feeling environment at a tattoo
you would
shop.
think that everybody would want that.
You would think. I mean, like so many people expect the.
We've got an emergency going on somewhere.
Oh no, coming down the street. I think a lot of people still expect or even still want that like shop experience where it's covered head to toe in flash and there's dead animals hung on the wall everywhere and there's metal and everything's loud. And then there are other people who are like, oh, I like that this feels almost like a spa. And you're listening to 80s pop instead. And I'm like, yes, you're welcome. Come in. This is where you should be.
I love that.
So besides being a full-time tattoo artist, a very talented one at that, you are a triathlete. Could you tell us, where did that start? Where did it begin? Tell us, please.
Yes. Okay. So it's a little bit of a bummer of a story to start, but it's a happy ending. Don't worry.
Okay.
But when I actually got my tattoo apprenticeship, it was like really, really hard. I was working 7 days a week and the anxiety was through the roof. I was having panic attacks all the time because I was overworked. And when you're an apprentice, you're treated like shit because you're the lowest on the totem pole and everyone reminds you that all the time, which is really hard for a 21-year-old girl trying to make it in a very male-dominated industry. And I ended up developing an eating disorder. Just from sheer stress, and my own mental health was just in the garbage. And I was actually using running as a way to, I had been a runner growing up, but it had become just literally like a way to burn calories. I didn't care. And I wasn't eating, and I was just a mess. I did a couple of marathons and just realized how unhealthy I was getting, and I was getting injured all the time, and I was so miserable, but I wanted to be a good athlete. And this client actually recommended a book to me called A Life Without Limits by Chrissy Wellington. And she is I think she was a 4-time Ironman world champion. And she like, her book is about growing up with an eating disorder and like conquering it and like turning into an Ironman champ. And I was like, I gotta do this. And it just like something finally snapped after years of just self-hate and hating my body and everything about it. Like I finally realized, okay, if I want to be good at this sport, if I want to be strong, I have to fuel and I have to take care of myself. And it just kind of like slowly started this change. And I just really fell in love with triathlon. And I've been doing it for 5 years now. And I'm obsessed with it.
That's awesome. And you've done an Ironman.
I've done 2 Ironmans.
Awesome.
Damn.
Oh, and anybody that does, I'm like, you are badass.
Machine, right?
It's insane. It takes a certain level of crazy to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie.
I know.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
I've accepted it.
We talked to a friend. She did one. I remember. I will just never forget this that she told me about because I was asking her about doing it, and she was telling me about when she was running that all she was thinking back of like, I swam today, like that happened to like how it felt it was so long ago, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine.
But then also you get to go, okay, I already swam. That's already done.
Yep.
Like I already finished the bike, whatever. You only have to do that once today. Now I just got to finish this marathon. That's all.
Yeah, is that kind of like your thought process through it? You're just like, okay, I'm here and now. Here I am. This is what I'm doing. Okay, what does that look like?
It's honestly, it's really interesting because you're so present and so out of it at the same time because you have to be present. You're racing. Your safety is a priority, but then you also have to get in this somewhat of a meditative state and just because it's hours. I mean, my first Ironman took over 12 hours. So like, but it went by so fast. I got on the run, was like, oh shit, I'm already running? Cool. Awesome. Great. Almost there. And then, over 4 hours later, it was like, okay, I'm actually done now.
And what's it like typically afterwards? What do you do? Do you have any rituals before or after or recovery?
After is really just like a bottle of wine and pizza. That's all I can think about. I just think pizza. I'm going to eat pizza. I'm going to get pizza after this.
Like
That's
the whole
great.
pizza.
Yeah, an entire
not
pizza.
just a slice.
And then I will fall asleep sitting up.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'm sure it's like, this is the best pizza I have ever had. The only thing I have to relate to that is childbirth. No, it's not the same.
You're like,
but
pizza, I get that pizza.
I remember specifically after one of my sons, and we ordered pizza, and I remember eating that, and I was like, this is the best fucking pizza I have ever had. And the second child, we ordered that pizza, and it wasn't quite the same, but
yeah.
I don't know why.
It's not the same reward that time.
It was much easier the second time, so maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know.
I don't know. What does training look like?
I train usually 6 days a week, 1 rest day. And I have a coach in Atlanta who I adore, and she's still my coach. And she, we have apps, and she uploads all my workouts.
Cool.
And it's usually like 2 or 3 bikes a week, run, swims. It's all kind of just mixed in. And I usually do it before work, unless it's the weekends and it's like the really long stuff. Yeah.
How do you
Instagram as
keep yourself mentally going? Like, I'm sure there's days, like you're human, that you're like, fuck, I don't want to get up and do this today. Like, how do you get past that?
Well, I think there's a balance because sometimes I totally listen to that and go, all right, I'm exhausted and I don't have to push myself that hard to, because I also think about when I was running every single day and it was really unhealthy. So when my body is screaming, yo, take a break. Sometimes I go, okay, cool. That sounds like a great idea. But for the most part, you just think about race day. You're like, well, if I want to do well, and I'm like really competitive, like potentially to a not fun point when N64 games are involved. Look at that guy.
Travis and me too. Not too long ago either.
Sweet Jason got me GoldenEye 007. I'll be like, stop looking at my screen. He's like, I'm not looking at your screen. I'm like, that's right, cheating.
I like to kneel down and just go all around the place.
Ooh, yeah.
And he can't get me, and it pisses him off.
Yes.
Anyway.
So fun.
But it's fun. We'd be boring if we weren't competitive.
Right. I just want to win everything all the time. That's all.
Oh, man. I mean, you do a lot. These pictures are beautiful. Do you have a photographer or?
That guy.
Oh,
He has an
Jason.
iPhone. iPhone 10.
That's
all it takes.
unbelievable.
That's awesome.
Like they look like professional, just like someone's following around your life, and like what a beautiful life it is.
Well,
Always on
very
adventures.
grateful. Very grateful.
And like the pictures of you in the water,
yeah.
they're beautiful. And like,
Thanks.
so swimming.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find Lisa and I used to swim? Well, we
tried.
yes, but we tried pretty good, where we were actually doing good laps and stuff, and like that meditative state and stuff like. And being in the water, what is that like for you?
I love swimming. I mean, it's always the like triathlete's least favorite because you have to do the most to do it. Like you can't just walk out your door and go swimming. You have to go somewhere.
Right. Yeah, you have to
bring
put
all
on
your
the-
stuff,
yeah.
and you have to
It's a
shower
process.
off. You have to do all the stuff. But I was, I swam 1 year in middle school, and it was really awkward and weird, and I stopped. But I somehow kept some of that form, I guess. So like it came back very easily. And for me, I love swimming because you don't have to talk to people. You don't have to make eye contact either. You just go, and you can just all you have is like swim, breathe, swim, breathe, and it's just like that repetition and everything. It's very calming. I love it.
Do you have the earbuds, the waterproof earbuds?
No. I try not to rely too heavily on entertainment just because you can't use it during a race.
Oh,
So, I mean, in the winter, I'm going to entertain myself. I'm going to watch TV while I ride my bike. But,
Right.
but I'm also like closer to race time. I try to like
Get used to that, not having that. Yeah.
not having the distraction because when you're just sitting there thinking, God, I wish I had my audiobook during a race, like that's a problem.
yeah.
And so what do you think about do you think about anything?
During races?
Yeah. Or in practice, like
On
on your long,
the long
days.
stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I try to have people with me because I also I'm very competitive, but I find a lot of value in the community and the fun of it. Like I'm not doing it just to win. Like I want to enjoy myself. So I really love having company and just talking. That's a really good one. But sometimes you don't have company. And it gets real boring and you're just like looking at the lines on the road like this is never ending. You like look around like there's no one around. This is terrible.
And you've traveled a lot.
Yeah.
Because of races and stuff like that. Where have you been?
Very often I will sign up for a race and be like, look, babe, we have to plan a vacation.
Yes, that's the
We're
way
going
to do
to
it.
Whistler.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah. So Whistler was one of the coolest ones. That was a good vacation one because I was like, I don't care how I do it. I just want to go to Whistler,
Right.
whatever. There was another one that I did that where I very much was unprepared for the race, but was somewhere awesome. Oh man, what was it? I mean, Santa Rosa, that was one of my Ironmans, and that was beautiful, but I was very much there to like get it.
Yeah.
Because you don't just go do an Ironman.
Right.
There's way too much involved. For a half though, I'll just kind of like wing it sometimes if I'm just want to go up to a pretty place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it sounds fun.
Yeah, I can't really think of all the other places we've been. I've done Chattanooga a number of times, Raleigh, Wisconsin. I don't know if that's considered a vacation.
But really, there's opportunities everywhere, right?
Yeah, they're all over the place.
That's so cool.
I'm constantly going like, okay, when is that one? Can I do that? Can I afford to do that this year? I
So
might
do you
that
have
one.
like a bunch of medals?
Yeah. And I'm like, some people, get their little finisher shirt and they wear it everywhere. I like give mine to my mom. So I'm like, I don't care. I have enough of this stuff. This is fine. But I do keep all the medals.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that I hang on to is the medals.
And you design, or you're starting to design activewear.
Mm-hmm.
Did that come out of your artistic side, or did that come out of like you wearing these clothes and thinking, oh, I can make this better?
I think a little bit of both. Okay. But like totally that, like especially even 5 years ago, there were a quarter of the options that there are now. And everything was really bland. Everything for women was pink. And there was like no excitement or diversity in it. And I was just like, God, this is so boring. But at the time, I wasn't thinking, oh, I'll just design stuff. But now I mean, there's so many options out there that it's also kind of making me go, okay, if these people can do it, maybe I can do it.
Man, why not?
And there's it's actually a direct to garment athletic wear company. So I'm just going to use them to create my design. Like I'll design it, it'll be printed on their stuff, but it's like really cool and exciting.
Are you using like your artwork for tattooing? Are you going to incorporate that into your activewear?
Yeah. Initially, I didn't want to because I didn't want to just be seen as like the tattoo stuff. Because there are some companies that have tried that and it just looks so cheesy that it's like annoying to me. It makes me really mad. So then I'm like, okay, fine. I will put tattoos on it. But now I'm like really embracing that and going, okay, then I'll actually put.
But you can make it
cool
not
stuff.
cheesy.
Yeah. It'll be legit looking and done by an actual tattoo artist. So maybe it'll be really cool.
Do you find does the activewear, and I don't know because I don't cycle. I mean, I know I have like workout clothes and running clothes, but do you find that you're like, oh, this doesn't fit right, or this feels this way, and like, what do you like and what don't you like?
Well, it's just like it's so different for everybody, especially with cycling stuff. Like some people want those cycling shorts that look like a diaper. The pad is so thick. And I think those are the most uncomfortable things. Like the minimal and I'm good. But then, like it's everybody has their own thing. For me, I like the minimal stuff because that's also what I race in. So I want to train in what I race in. Because if you're used to like, a pad 2 inches thick in a tri-suit, there's literally like, I don't know, a quarter of an inch or something because you have to be able to run in it.
Yeah.
So it kind of varies. For me, I like things to be very airy and minimal and like just to the point.
And do you want to make it accessible for all shapes of women?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is like with the company that I'm using or that I plan on using, Jackaroo, like I'm not sure their sizing yet. I actually need to look into that. But I'm hoping to one day have it be all my stuff. Like in-house, I design it, and I very, very much want it to be for everyone. Because that's so important.
It is.
I have friends who do Ironmans that cannot find stuff to wear. And it's like, you can do these things at any shape, size, color. Like, it's possible. It's just the industry
is not
doesn't
reflecting
tell you that.
Right.
Which is really sad.
It is. And then I would think like that might be disencouraging to some people. Like, well, I can't find what I can wear, so I'm not going to do it.
I mean, and they just assume that they can't.
Yeah.
Like my mom came to my first race and saw women 20 years her senior doing half Ironmans. She was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
What?
Right. People just don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
And she like did her first 5K that year. She was like, well, if these bitches can do it, I'm going to do it too. I was like, all right, come on now.
Love it. When did you start writing your blog?
I think it was 3 years ago. 2 or 3 years ago.
It's full of all kinds of good stuff.
Thanks. I love writing. I want to actually write a book one day. And
You should.
oh, I will. It will happen.
Watch
But
out,
right now
world.
I'm focusing
Cori
on the
James.
designs. Yeah. And then everyone buy a t-shirt and
Yes.
a cycling kit and then the book for their friend.
A whole
Like-
brand.
Yes, the whole thing. But yeah, the blog just kind of happened because I don't know, actually like especially with social media, so many people make their lives look perfect. And I actually try on my triathlon Instagram to remind people that my life isn't perfect. I just happened to move to a really beautiful place. Right. It's like, but don't worry, like this is real. Like real life isn't perfect.
Yeah.
And I hate that people get so sucked into that and think that everyone's life is better than theirs because they're only seeing the good parts of their day on social media. So I started the blog to kind of approach some of that, to approach mental health, and to like write much longer things that can fit in an Instagram caption and kind of just go for it that way.
One of your entries, how self-help books improved my life while simultaneously sending me into a spiral of depression.
That's legit.
Can you tell us about that? There are listeners too. I think that's an interesting topic. to
Yeah,
talk
no,
about.
totally. Because I was a self-help junkie, like hard. I loved it because I was struggling with mental health, and I actually had visited Boulder. It was the first time coming here, and I was doing Boulder half Ironman and stumbled across this golden doored bookstore on Pearl Street and was like, and I go in and I pick up this book. It's Jen Sincero's You Are a Badass, which I was like, oh, the word ass is on the cover. Funny. And I'd always been very like nose up to self-help stuff because I was just like, I'm not that messed up. I'm fine. But I kind of just was like, screw it, whatever. You know, I'm on a trip. I'll read a book. So I grabbed it and I just like dove in. And it really did change my life. I don't think Jen nails it in every way. I think there are some parts of the book that are not great. Like there's some comments where she mentions like depression is a choice, and I'm like, bitch, what? She's like said something about how, well, when you are depressed, you get attention, and that's so nice. And I'm like, okay.
I've heard this argument before.
Yeah.
I can't know. A choice? I don't know. I don't think so.
And that, I mean, I just kind of like was like, whatever. Okay, I'm just gonna keep reading. But I read it a number of times and finally was like, okay, like I like where she went with this, but she was sort of in a couple of places. But her book really inspired me to like. That's when I left the job with 13 Men and started the feminist studio. Like we bought a house that year. Like. I was just like getting it. And I mean, in Atlanta, I was extremely busy tattooing and I was training for my first Ironman. Like I was like, fuck yeah, I'm getting it. And the books, I feel like there's a part of self-help that is unhealthy where and for me personally, it's all of the positivity. I love positivity. I think it's amazing. And I try to stick to that as much as possible. But it's not possible all the time.
Right. That's not reality.
It's not real.
Yeah.
And I was like really struggling because I was getting into these really negative headspaces because I was so busy and I had put all of this stuff on my plate because I was encouraged by these books to do that. And I was completely overwhelmed. I was drowning in all of it. And then I finally just like snapped. And I don't know, like 6 months later, I was like being medicated for depression, which for me, that was the best decision of my entire life was starting medication. And I am a big fan. Yeah. I always tell people like, that's not anything to be ashamed of.
No,
it's awesome. That shit's the best. Yep. Like that saved my life. It's awesome. But yeah, so that's what that is about, is like how the self-help books can just like, they can light a fire into your ass, but then they can also kind of put an unrealistic idea of what is even, not what's possible, that I think anything's possible, but of what is a realistic thing to attack at one time, you know? And yeah, I had to like take a step back and be like, oh man, fuck these books. I gotta take a breather from these.
I've had that experience too.
Yeah.
I really love what you've been writing.
Thank you.
Something else in your positivity crowneth
yeah.
is you wrote about vocalizing some negative shit can sometimes make it more palpable to your brain, at least in my experience. When you hear yourself say it, you can analyze it and see the whole situation in a different light. The negative thought loses some validity when it's no longer just stewing in your brain, hanging out in a hot tub all by itself, drinking cocktails and bitching about the way your hair looks.
Wow! Yes,
I love that.
So good. Thank you.
Right. You got to write a book.
Well, that's so true. Like, because we can like
what a great topic
replay
to
our
talk
own
about.
crazy in our head. And then
it's just bouncing around.
And I do that all the time. I'll say something, and then as I'm saying it, I'm hearing, that is bonkers.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, okay. Like, problem solved. Like, I don't even need the other person's answer because I'm like, oh, well, I was crazy.
That's where that came from. Yeah. It was during that actual, like, really tough depression time before I made changes and went to my doctor and stuff. And I was gaining weight while training for my first Ironman. At least in my head, I was. And I like texted my coach. I was like, Cori, I think I'm like gaining weight. This feels so weird. I feel sluggish and gross. And like as I sent it, I was like, I haven't even weighed myself in like 2 years. How would I even know that? That's what is this? Is insane. And then I just had this moment of like, okay, I should have just said that earlier. Like, I've just been thinking that for like a month and a half. Like,
well, what's the saying? Like, our mind does not always wish the best for us. So, like, it can be a dangerous place.
Yeah.
One thing I've been learning is that there is, like, I think there's this reality in here, but there is a reality outside of what is going on in here. And I know for a fact, too, that my brain is warped and it's not like going to get any better anytime soon.
Yeah.
And that I have to say it out loud. I have to reach out to others, whether it be a coach, a mentor, my significant other, a best friend, someone who's going to hold that mirror back up to me and say, Cori, look.
Hey.
Or I even say it out loud and I think, oh my gosh, I'm being so irrational.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, and what a gift to be able to have people that we can do that with, and that we can, you find those people and you stick with them. Like, we've done it, and we've done it in the process of doing this podcast together. I know there's been times when I've come to Cori and be like, okay, I'm spinning a story in my head. I feel like it's crazy, but I can't let it go. And so I'm going to tell you what I think's happening. And then she's like, what? And I'm like, as I'm saying it, I'm like, okay, no, I just made that up.
That's not what happened.
Yeah. I'm just making that up in my head.
Yeah.
But it can feel so real.
Yeah. But I mean, also like, especially with the positivity thing, like that, a lot about in that blog post was about how I am known for being very happy. I'm a cheerful person. I like to smile. I think laughing is the best. And I try to make other people happy around me because that's great. It's like, that's awesome. But then when you're having a bad day and you feel like shit, people expect you to still be on it. And that's kind of where that came from, because I actually had a friend who would never voice what she was going through until she would just break one day. And I'd be like, sister, like, you can tell me this stuff. You don't always have to seem perfect. It's okay. And I kind of realized like, oh, I need to do that too. And there's a lot of pressure sometimes to like always be positive. And I believe that that's great, but I don't think it is always an option to always find the positive spin on every single shitty thing that's ever happened. Sometimes it's just shitty and you just need to sit back and go, that sucks.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. People like us, it's hard for us to sometimes say, you know what? I do need help.
Yeah.
Or not get offended when someone says, are you all right? Well,
Yeah.
I'm fucking, like, leave it, let me have my moment, or my day. And so, accepting help or that humility that comes with it, I guess,
totally.
But it's so refreshing to have someone in the chair. Like, again, it's amazing. This is the first time we've met. We've talked through email. But like, again, how alike we think we can, we're relatable conversations, and our listeners too, I'm sure, are bobbing their heads as well. And like, I could really with Cori Squared and Lisa right now too, And so, I mean, this is just so cool. It's fun.
I love it. It's so great.
Another entry in your blog.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got to sit down and read all this. So you have a friend, and its name is Annie. Anxiety.
Oh yeah, Annie. Oh, Annie. That bitch. That one, actually, I wrote that shortly after moving here because I was so pissed that I still had anxiety, though I was living in Boulder. Like somewhere I wanted to live for years. And I was just like, oh, why am I not fixed yet? So like that's all about that bitch, Annie. That shitty friend that just won't leave you alone, but you just keep going, okay, yeah, you're here now. Great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Come
Invite
on
it for tea and cake. Was that you who we've talked about that?
I don't know.
When there's feelings, you invite them in for tea and cake.
No, that wasn't me. I mean, it sounds like something I would do, but
and maybe it's a book or somebody said, but when you have these feelings, you just invite it down for tea and you say, okay, well, it's nice to see you today, but you can't stay for too long.
Like hang out and then get out.
Yep, get the fuck out.
I love what you just said about like being in Boulder, like being in the place you really love. It's really beautiful. Like nobody can deny that. And then still having an issue. Yeah. I had the same thing. Like when I moved here, I had some stuff going on in my life and I was having a really hard time. And I remember my husband's like, why is this happening? Like we moved here and before I was working 40 hours a week, I was going to night school. I had 2 toddlers. Like it was sucking. It was hard. And then we moved here and I got like the space and I didn't get a job right away. And so I wasn't working. It was like beautiful. So
you think everything's I should
he's
feel
like,
perfect.
Yeah. And I was like, no, like, and I had to go and like get help. And like, there's no shame in that. No. And it doesn't matter. Like, we can change our outside what's going on, but if we're not working on what's going on inside, it doesn't make a fuck difference where we are.
Totally. And I very much just believe that like sometimes or in some people's brains don't work perfectly all the time. Mine is one of those. I think that's a majority of human beings.
Right.
But we expect it to. And I mean, I was like going on hikes in these glorious places and still thinking like, God, I need to do some shit. I got to do this. I'd be like, no. And just like looking at a mountain, like, why am I not appreciating this more?
Yeah. What kind of like, do you do any meditation?
I do,
that
yeah.
kind of self-care? What does that look like?
I do lots of meditation. Jason and I are actually doing this book called The Artist's Way.
You're doing the artist way. I need to do it. It keeps showing up in my life.
We had
listen
somebody
to it.
else on here.
Jackie.
That's why those shirts exist. That's why this athletic wear line is happening. It's because of that book.
You guys are doing it together?
Yeah. He started a couple weeks after me. And it's actually been really, really awesome for him too, which is really cool.
And what could you give us a little summary of what?
So
the
it's like a
Artist's Way?
12-week thing, 12-week book, and like each week you read a thing and you have these tasks that you're supposed to do throughout the week. And most of it is like really kind of goofy stuff because the whole book is about like finding your artist child. That's what she calls it, which is really funny sounding to me. But like there's lots of routine. Like you do 3 pages of just like freehand journaling every single morning and just get all of it out on the paper. And that's like, even that, I actually started doing that 2 years ago because somebody told me about it. I didn't even actually do the book, but I've just been doing that for years. And it's huge. It's part of my self-care is just those 3 pages every morning and then some meditation, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And of course, for me, training is very much part of keeping my mental health intact.
Right. And you hike too.
Yeah, and hiking. Just activity. I love the outdoors. I mean, the fact that it's sunny here all the time.
I know.
Yeah,
How
nice.
could you not go outside all the time?
Vitamin
It's
D is
pretty nice.
It
And
is.
even when it
It's so
snows,
great.
then it's still beautiful. And it's like you're in a whole new world.
Yes, girl, I'm from Georgia. This snow, we're like,
I know. I'm from Texas too. And I'm like, I mean, when I first moved here, it was February. And there was like 2 feet of snow in our driveway. And my husband were like, our landlord had left us a shovel. And we're like watching the neighbors because we're like, how do you
do this?
How do you get rid of this? And
How do
then
you
I
get
was
out
like,
of the
well,
house?
I
That's
assume
funny.
the school's going to be closed tomorrow. And I bet the movers aren't going to be able to come. And everybody showed up. And the kids, I was like, what? They have to go to school? Like, why is the city not shut down?
right, yes.
It's crazy.
Because that's definitely what happens in Atlanta. I don't know if y'all saw Snowpocalypse like
Yeah,
5
yeah,
years
yeah.
ago. They
Yep.
did the SNL skit making fun of it, and it's
No.
really fun.
It was a pandemic. Yeah,
I mean,
insanity.
it looked like The Walking Dead happened because literally the interstate was covered in abandoned cars because it snowed like an inch and a half
Yeah.
and then immediately turned to ice
Yeah.
and no one could move.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they all
That's right, the ice.
yeah, because like in Atlanta, snow means okay, we're gonna close, we're gonna go
Right,
home,
right.
and everyone did that at the same time in the entire city. So the whole city got on the interstate, and then it turned to ice.
Oh my god.
My friend was stuck in his car for like 13 hours or something.
wow.
He was texting me while I was like drinking wine on my couch. I'm like, sorry about it, dude. I live 5 miles from the shop. Sorry.
That's the thing. Like, yeah, in the South, like we don't know about the snow. And when my family found out we were going to move here, they're like thinking, "You're going to freeze to death. You're going to like, what are you doing? You're going to die. Like, don't like we're going to the Arctic Circle
Like,
or
no
something."
one's ever
And
lived in the snow
yeah,
before.
I'm like, and then you realize that it's not bad. Like, yeah, it snows, but then the sun comes out and it's beautiful, and you just go play in it.
And then the whole town continues to function. And it's really fine. It's like you actually go to work and just that's normal. It's not
So
terrifying.
crazy.
However, I have kept my Georgia plates just so people know, like, I'm not used to driving in this.
Right.
Stay far behind me.
I feel like, yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe I need to put something like, I'm from Texas. Like,
Right.
be patient.
I'm not from here. If it's snowing, stay 20
But
feet
don't
back.
they all know that already? Because nobody
should.
that lives here just about is from here. I feel
my
like
God, that is
everybody
so true.
I meet is a transplant.
I think I have tattooed 3 people from Colorado so far.
Yeah.
I
And I'm like, where are all of your people? And they're like, I don't know. They all left. I don't
we
know.
all came and they all got the hell out. I don't know.
Travis is a native, and whenever he finds another one, he's like, "Rejoice,
My people have found you.
where are you from? Oh, yes, I know that person." It's so funny.
Which is so crazy to me because in Georgia, everyone I tattooed was from the suburbs.
Yeah.
Or from Atlanta or grew up in the country and now lived in Atlanta or drove from the country. And I'm
Right.
like, dang, sorry, Colorado, we ran y'all out.
Yeah, smack dab in the middle of the country.
Right. It's the weather. We can't stay away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause
it's
it's
the
those
weather and the
Rocky
beauty.
Mountains.
Those rocky freaking mountains.
Mhm.
People always say, "Why did you move here?" I go, "The Rocky Mountains." Duh."
Just take a
What
look
do you think?
outside. Well, at least, I don't know. The price of rent is keeping people out now, at least I
Yeah.
think, a little bit.
We don't need any more.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, can like a very small recession please happen?
Yes, please.
Just enough that rent goes down, but my salary does not.
Yeah, there you go. There we go.
Yes, yes.
That's all.
Keep playing my rates for my services, please.
Yes, I need my hourly to go up and rent to go down.
Yes.
That's all.
I know.
No
That's
big
a
deal.
whole other topic. Right? Well, Cori, thank you so much for coming on the show today. This has been
It's been really fun with you.
so
It's been
great.
really fun.
I've had a blast. This is definitely the best podcast experience I've ever
Oh,
had.
I'm so glad to hear
Good.
it.
That's what we want. We want it
This
to
was
be.
all about.
Yay!
This was all
I
about.
love it.
We've met so many amazing women that have sat in that chair, and every single one, we're like, they leave, and we're like, oh my gosh, we loved her so much.
You guys should have like a meetup.
We've talked
about
about it. We want to, and
That'd
so
be
we're
really
thinking we're like
cute.
maybe we get to episode X, and
Yeah,
then we'll do
yeah.
a meetup with everybody.
like
Cool
Yeah.
networking event or something like that. Why
I
not?
love that.
Yeah.
Why
Sign
not?
me up. I'll be
Because
there.
we think like we've loved every woman that's in that chair, and we think they'd all love each other, and so I think it'd be
Right?
awesome.
and we
Yeah.
all love you
Yeah.
guys. So, look at that.
Just a big
Cori,
love fest.
if people want to learn more about you, follow you, buy some of your t-shirts, could you tell us where we can find you?
Yes, on Instagram you can find me at Cori James Tattoo or colorful try Cori with some underscores in there. My website, CoriJamesTattoo.com. There's the store there. You can get all the cute t-shirts and stay up to date with stuff. And and then the blog, colorfulcontender.com. I have way too many social media.
Yeah, we'll put them all on the website too.
Yeah,
So.
Thank
got them
you.
already. Listeners, you can go on the website and click on those links. And we'll wrap it up for there.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Yay,
Cori.
Thank you.
If you have an interesting story, something funny, something sad, something you want the world to know, please email us. We want you to share your experiences with us. We'll take these, we'll collect them, we'll do some episodes sometimes where we'll read them. So if you want to be anonymous, please just let us know. We won't read your name. If you want your name read, then we will. But send us those stories, comments, to info@herturntotalkpodcast.com. And we also ask if you like what you're hearing, please rate, review, and subscribe. Thank you.